Nobody does Star Wars like the power of the Force from Kenner.
Hey, Star Wars fans, welcome back to another episode of Power of the Force Fridays. I haven't done one of these since September last year. Decided to just sort of step back, take a little break, slow down on the content a little bit. But I've caught the bug again. I've rekindled the flame. I've decided to jump back in and do some Power of the Force Friday videos again. There are a lot of people that do like them, and I'm really appreciative. there is a crowd of folks out there that appreciate this toy line as much as I do. For those of us millennials, for lack of a better term, this is pretty much our vintage. And yeah, I have quite a slew and increasing amount of videos dedicated to action figures from the Power of the Force line from 1995 through to early 99. I've recently just expanded the shelving up a little bit, so I've got the Rancor and a couple of shelves up there. Even started to incorporate some of the 99 Phantom Menace. But yeah, this is my way of sort of endeavouring into finally completing the toy line that I collected as a kid. And this set here, this is one I've had since it was released. This thing's been in my possession for 30 years, which is insane to think about it. These are the electronic effects. These were two separate sets. I'm not going to pull them apart. I don't know whether they will pull apart. There's every chance I glued this together at some point in my childhood. But yeah, they did a few of these sets. They did some with the special editions. They did an R2-D2 hiding in the rocks. They did a Luke. They did an Emperor with lightning. But yeah, this one was always interesting to me. Upon doing some research just recently, I was relearning about this set, and the fact that Ben comes with the green lightsaber, and the pure fact of that was the blue LEDs were too expensive back in the 90s when they were making these toys, so they opted for a sort of a cheaper alternative and went with the green. And in a way, it kind of goes with the sort of the vintage feel. But yeah, I don't have the packaging for this one anymore because some of it is actually cut up to create the backdrop. But yeah, before we get into it, I'm going to be appearing on Sith Lord 229's channel with Daniel East 1000. We're going to be talking about Power of the Force, the deluxe figures. So I don't have any of the deluxe ones yet. I've got a couple of speeder bikes and a few of the 3-packs. But yeah, I'm going to have to track some of those down. So yeah, the fact that those boys have invited me on to join them for a live stream to talk about the Power of the Force, it's definitely reignited the spark. I've started looking around, and yeah, I'm actually looking at replacing this set with a new carded version as well. Probably going to bust it open. But yeah, the original batteries are still in these figures, and they were still operating up until probably 5 to 10 years ago. These figures took a lot of tumbles over the years. The blades are glued in. When they did light up, they weren't as bright as they once were. But yeah, let's take the figures off. And we'll get a look at the diorama piece. So each one came with one half of the base. You can sort of see in the middle there how it's connected. 1/4 of the backdrop there. And of course, this isn't the scene it came with. This is from another figure. This is from the Han and Luke Stormtrooper disguise backdrop. But, you know, in an effort to try and replace what I once had, because this thing had just seen the wars, literally, no pun intended. This thing had seen some battles over the years. You know, you can sort of see dust build up in the corners. And I could probably clean it up a little bit, but you know what? Distributed by Hasbro, made in China 1996, Lucasfilm Limited. So arms with light in it's designed to move up and down in front of the figure only. Do not rotate arms behind the figure. Wire inside the arm will break. You can kind of see that wire sort of filtered through to the back. Even on the side here, the cape, which I'd decided to sort of glue together at one point. Couldn't get it to do it on that side, but if we look behind it, you can kind of see the battery pack and the button, so you could simply just push it in. So yeah, until I got the regular Obi-Wan Kenobi, this was my Obi-Wan for a long time. And you know what? It stood the test of time. It's held strong. It's done its thing. Yeah, the big sort of gaudy robe, layered the power stance. You know, this is how it was done in the 90s. This is so cool. And I like that the blade itself, while not switched on, it's still got a bit of a lit up effect, which doesn't happen with the lightsabers today. Maybe it's just the type of plastic that was used in the 90s. But, you know, it almost has that sort of glow to it, doesn't it? But still really cool. Yeah, one thing I did forget is you've got these little switches here. And what they do, they allow that peg to move in and out. And when you spin that, it spins that little peg there in the middle. So when we put the figure on there, you can move him back and forth. You can get him spinning. Try spinning, that's a good trick. And yeah, it's very much, I've always just treated this as a cool, you know, sort of a background scene. You know, I've got my other figures sort of standing in front of it. This thing has been on display in my collection since I was a kid. You know, I had a desk in my room. This thing sat at the back, with the original background, obviously. But these figures were the centerpiece, you know, of my Star Wars action figure collection. We'll take a look at Vader. You know, he's still very, very much buffed up. I did have a normal Vader when I was younger. But this one was always cool. You know, he had the light up lightsaber. You can kind of see, if we get up nice and close, you can kind of see how much if it wants to focus, it doesn't want to focus right this second. But yeah, you can kind of see how much glue is just sort of cagged in there to hold that blade on. They were originally pegged in, much like the modern day figures that have the big pegs. But you know, as you're a kid, figures drop off shelves, drop off the shelves. Excuse me, getting tongue tied. And yeah, things break. Unfortunately, it's the lessons we learn as being a kid. Now this one, you'll be able to see the back part a little bit better. So there's just a couple of Phillips head screws. I'm not sure what batteries it takes. I've never changed them. My parents may have changed them at some point. I may have complained about it and said, look, these are going flat. I don't recall ever having to change them up though. So as far as I know, they're still the original batteries. I probably should take them out. Although if they're flat, there's probably no risk of leaking or anything like that. Pretty much all done and dusted. Now, what would be cool if there was any kind of intelligent electronics person, it'd be great to find a way to hardwire them into a USB, convert it to like a transformer or something, and you know, be able to have them plugged into a USB to be able to power these lightsabers up without having to worry about the battery packs. But yeah, we meet again at last. So yeah, this is still a fun piece of the collection. I do really enjoy having this in the collection. And the fact that it's something I've had since I was, you know, 7 years old, 6 maybe, probably more likely 7. So yeah, 30 years. But if I ever get around to getting a fresh set, I'll make sure to do a bit of a video on that, just to sort of see how we can compare them side by side. But yeah, very cool. Alright folks, I hope you've enjoyed this first video back, this first episode of Power of the Force Fridays for 2025. I'm going to keep this ball rolling. It's fun, it's good, it's something I've wanting to get back into doing. Just, you know, time and just deciding to pull away from cranking out the content like I was 6 months ago. And just sort of steady it down and just try and enjoy myself once more. But yeah, looking forward to catching up with Sith Lord and Daniel East 1000 in a couple of weeks. I'll put a little flashcard up and I'll put a link in the description so you can go and keep an eye on when that video is going to go live, when we're going to do that live stream. I'm really looking forward to it. And yeah, any requests, drop a comment, let me know what you want to see. I've actually got a little stack of card backs here of figures that I haven't done yet. I've compiled a list, so I'll just sort of be chipping through them 1 week at a time. Power of the Force Fridays 2025. Let's keep the ball rolling. Until next time, may the Force be with you always.